Hi, I am Celeste, and I help mid career professional Black women build a life of freedom using flexible work. And today I have a little story time for you. So, if you are feeling burned out and maybe you want to try, you want to exit your situation, but you still have bills to pay, right? Or maybe you've been impacted by recent layoffs, or you are just looking for a way to get more freedom in your work schedule while maintaining some financial stability. Those are some of the things that we talk about on this channel. And so, like I said, today I have a little story time for you. Um, so yeah, if you fit in any of those categories, then this video is for you. So, one of the things I have heard from people is that they think that if you are a contract worker, meaning you work for a staffing agency, that you can't negotiate your rate, or maybe you can't get a raise. Neither of those things are true. And today I'm just going to tell you a quick story about what happened when a colleague of mine who was a contractor found out basically that he was being underpaid compared to the rest of his teammates. So let's see. Where do I start with this? I'm going to be looking at my notes. It's been a minute since I've been on here, so I'm trying to get it together. Work with me. All right. So if you don't know, the way that contracting through a staffing agency works is that the client pays the agency a certain amount of money, and then out of that, the agency they keep part of that as their margin, and then they pay the contractor, meaning you, the rest. And that margin is where you have some wiggle room to negotiate. So my coworker, and for the purposes of this video, I'm going to just call him Kevin. So we are all working as W-2 contractors through different staffing agencies. And I find out, so let me give you a background on Kevin. So Kevin has been there over 4 years. He is professional. He does great work. Everybody loves him. He worked really hard. And I happen to find out that some of the newer hires on our team who were doing the exact same job for the exact same agency, I found out what they were making. And so I mentioned to Kevin, like, hey, did you know, these people who just got here are, making XYZ. And I had negotiated my rate on the way in, so I was already kind of in the range where these people were. But he was not. And he said, what? And he was making like $13 or $14 an hour less than them, which, if you do the math on that, adds up to like $30,000, like around that amount, right? That's crazy for the same job, for the same agency. So we also found out that there was a member of our team who had gotten basically fired. In the contract world, they say your contract wasn't renewed. So he was, so bad that he was let go, and he was making the same as these newer hires as well. So he says, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm going to talk to my agency and see, what they can do about my rate. Now, I cannot confirm that race was a factor in any of this, but I will say that Kevin was Black and the male contractors making far more than him were not. But what I also have to say is that recency is at play here, meaning that Kevin got whatever rate he got when he came in, 4 years ago. Um, and as a contractor, you don't get cost of living adjustments, you don't get annual increases or anything like that. So, by him staying all of that time, he just wasn't going to get what new people coming in the door were getting, right? So, just something to keep in mind. So, he calls his agency, like his representative, and leaves a message, hey, I'd like to discuss my compensation, whatever. Crickets. Doesn't hear back. So then he calls another person at the agency, and again, they don't respond. Completely ignore him. He sends an email. They ignore that. So he tells me, he's like, yeah, I tried to reach out to them and they are just, ignoring me. I said, here's what you do. Don't submit your timesheet this week. So as contractors, we have to submit our timesheets at the end of the week. Yeah, I'll come back to that. I said, when they reach out to you about you not turning in your timesheet, respond, but don't say anything about the timesheet in the email or if they call you. The first thing that you say, the only thing you say is, I've been trying to get in touch with you to, set up an appointment to discuss my compensation. That's it. That's all you say. I said, if they email you, they're going to read your response because they're trying to get their money and you're holding up their money. So basically, as I was about to say before, we submit timesheets every Friday. And that is how the agency gets paid, because the agency bills for the hours that contractors work. So we submit the timesheet and then they bill the client, and then the client pays the agency and the agency pays us. But they can't do any of that if they don't get the timesheet. So, and I said, once they respond, affirmatively to your request, then you can go ahead and submit your timesheet. So he does it. He doesn't submit his timesheet. They email him, hey, where's your timesheet? He does exactly what I tell him to do. Replies, hey, actually, I've been trying to get in touch with you to discuss my compensation. And they made up some BS about, why they ignored him, basically, or whatever. But they, set up the appointment. And then he submitted his timesheet and he had the conversation, and he got the increase that he was looking for. Now, he went into that conversation, armed with a couple of things, like most importantly, the information about what his coworkers doing the same job are making, right? It's kind of hard to justify, a large gap for the same role, in the same department, same everything, right? But also, his accolades, his results, his performance, like all of that typical stuff that you would take into a conversation about compensation. So he was so mad that he had to like play these games with his agency to even get them to respond. But he was even angrier that Had he not found out this information, um, that the agency would have been fine continuing to underpay him, $13, $14 an hour. And so, yeah, he just never felt the same about the situation in the agency after that. Um, but yeah, so that is the story of how I helped my contract coworker um, get a raise mid-contract. So it can be done. So I want to say just a couple things. Oh, I forgot. After that happened, the agency told all of the people in my department that worked for them, that they were not allowed to share their rate with each other, which is illegal. um, and also only benefits them, right? Like it just, I don't know. I thought that was wild. So I heard that and laughed. Um, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on that. Um, this is not an agency bashing video, though. I want to make that clear. I have worked for some lovely staffing agencies, right, with some amazing people. So I brought this up as a topic more so to talk about the fact that you can negotiate. You can negotiate going in, like before you accept a contract. And you can negotiate mid-contract, but that's much harder to do. So I also wanted to highlight, one of the things that happened that was at play here is that he had been there for a long time. And so, you don't keep up with the cost of living if you are on a long-term contract like that, which is, that's one of the reasons that I advise against taking those. I prefer contracts with a term limit, 12 months, 9 months, whatever. At a minimum, change every 2 years. If you're concerned about um, getting increases, cost of living, that sort of thing. If you're somewhere and you're fine and you have a great situation and your bills are paid, all of that kind of stuff, then, and they're lovely people and you want to stay, great. But otherwise, you kind of have to follow the same advice that you hear for full-time jobs, which is that you kind of need to change every couple of years. To get the increases that you want to see. Okay, so don't go yet. I do want to tell you that I appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and if you learned anything or even just found it entertaining, please give it a thumbs up. If you are interested in learning more about flexible work arrangements like contracting, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Also, a couple things for you. If you are thinking about leaving a full-time job for contract work and you don't know where to start, I've got a free resource for you. I have a free checklist that walks you through navigating the W-2 contract job market and how to get prepared for that. And you can download that at resetwithceleste.com/checklist. And I will send that out to you. Okay. And then lastly, if you have any questions about what it's like to work as a W-2 contractor, what's involved, how do you manage your finances, how do you go from one contract to another, like anything along those lines, you can book a call with me and we can discuss that. And the way you do that is going to that same website, which is resetwithceleste.com. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed our little story time today. It's just something new that I'm trying. Thank you for watching and take care.